guys. Okay, so in this one we're going to go over Heaven 6 and a way that it could be used for a combat situation. Over time that you'll learn that eventually what you learn as a drill, especially in Kali and Salat and other things like that, not only is it a drill, it's also a generator. Not only is it a generator, but it can also be used as individual techniques. So this next technique is just merely a way of showing that, and it's actually something that you could use pretty effectively in a combat situation. We'll go over that. So anyway, here's what this is. So you remember Heaven 6, the first strike, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Okay, so you remember that. There is a video of me showing that in greater detail in case you were a little rusty on it or whatever like that. So if you are, go ahead and watch that video now and then come back to this one. There's also a video of me showing the reverse Senawali, which is 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? Okay. This technique is actually a kind of a combination of the two, only different is probably the best way to do it. In the reverse Senawali video, I show how to go from a Heaven 6 into reverse Senawali. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then right at 5, we go ahead and go into reverse Senawali, and then we can finish with the 6, and then go straight into Heaven 6 again. So, in that same type of idea, instead of doing the reverse Senawali, we're going to do a reverse figure 8. So it will look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, and then we'll just come in for our reverse figure 8, and then come in again for our first strike, okay. So that would be the drills part again of it. So it would be the regular Heaven 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. Get ready for the 6 here. Do our reverse figure 8, then 6, and then the first strike again. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, reverse figure 8, and then going again. Okay. So what is the combat application of this? Okay. Well, the idea is that if I'm in a tactical situation, or I'm in a situation where I need to defend my life because someone is coming to me with lethal force, okay? So in this way, we'll just say that they are trying a stab to my face, okay? So when they try that stab to my face, I'm going to go ahead and parry it out with my left hand. At the same time, I'm also going to step off one, okay? Now, as soon as I parried this out, I can strike back with the left hand. That does two things. One, it could give me the ability to score a cut, which will help me later on. More than that, though, it's a distraction. It makes them think up high, okay? Which means that now I can just turn my hand over like this, come in for the first strike of the reverse figure 8. As soon as I finish there, just turn my hand back over, strike again, use this second strike here. We'll call it 6B if you want. Just gain some distance, push them back to set them up for the last strike. Know how the last strike comes in this way, and then it turns and comes down. Okay? Now, what that allows us to do is it gives us, from the first strike, I've got one cut to the face, a strike to the ribs, strike to the ribs here, a second strike, pushing them back. That gets them away, which gives me the chance to get maximum damage, maximum power, maximum leverage against my opponent for the finishing strike here. Okay? And then after I've finished, after the figure eights, I push them back. After I've done this strike, now I'm going to bring this back up so that I can come back in. Okay. So that's the technique in a nutshell. Let's talk about some of the ins and outs of it and some of the more gory details, if you will. You will, in most instances, you do not want to strike or go for a target that's in the gut area, especially with a bladed weapon. Here's why. The targets that are in the gut that are lethal are mostly hard to get to, and the ones that aren't, they don't shut down your opponent immediately. It doesn't. The ones that you can get to don't necessarily shut them down immediately. Yes, there is an artery that runs center line. Yes, you could get to it. Yes, if you cut it, it will cause massive internal bleeding. However, in a situation where they're moving, I'm moving, they've got blade, I've got blade, maybe I'm not gonna, maybe I'm not gonna be able to get to that center line artery as easily as I would like. Okay, so if I could get a shot at the gut or a shot at the ribs, I'm going to go for the ribs, period. Okay. Let's talk about the design of the tomahawk. Okay. With this hook here, there is a chance that the tomahawk, when it enters, if I'm using the axe head side, will go in, but it will also become hung up. Okay. If that's the case, then I need to let go of the axe and continue the movement. If I waste time trying to get my axe out of my opponent, that gives him an opportunity to have an advantage over me. I don't want that. Okay? That's the worst thing that can happen. It's far better for me to let go of the axe and continue with the motion and keep pressing to press that attacker away, to repel him out of my area. Okay? So, let's work with that eventuality. When that strike comes, boom, I parried it out. Okay. I'm coming in for the reverse figure eight. Okay. Now let's say at the second strike, my axe gets hung up. Immediately I'm going to drop the axe, just over my hand. If it falls out, great. If it doesn't, whatever. Okay. I'm going to strike with the knife. Okay. Now I can come in for an open-handed strike or an elbow strike, depending on my range, which will distract so I can finish with the knife. Okay? And then after I've done this strike here, if I'm not able to finish at this point, I can go ahead and switch my knife to my right hand, and then whatever weapon I have here I could use. I can go ahead and draw my left-handed weapon as well. Okay? A little bit of something like that. Whenever you're carrying weapons, especially blades, I would recommend to carry blades on both sides of your body, so that if I lose my right hand knife, I can switch the knife that's in my left hand to my right hand and then draw my next left hand, or vice versa. Okay? The idea is to always be able to have something available for each of your hands to get to easily and quickly. Okay? Enough about that. So, the other way of looking at this is when I'm doing that reverse figure eight, I could just as easily use the hammer. Now, if I use the hammer, it has less of a chance of being hung up because it is a blunt object and it's using the impact instead of the cutting. So, that would also be a good way of going about it. Okay. Now granted, it wouldn't cut into the organs as much, rather it be more of pummeling them, but it would definitely break ribs, and it's still just as lethal to the ribs used that way. Although I would say that it's probably a little less, but that point's arguable, due to the ribs being sharp when they're shattered. But either way, you hit somebody like that in the ribs with a reverse figure eight like that, they're going to have a bad day. Anyway, so basically I just showed this mainly because, yes, this is a little bit more extreme than I would normally show on YouTube, but the reason why I'm going ahead and showing this is because there's a lot of times when we're out and about, and a lot of the guys that do things like I do, we go out and we're in the woods. Sometimes we're 50 or 100 miles away from the nearest town, and some of the counties that we do this in, there may be only a few sheriffs. One of the places I like to go to only has 2 or 3 sheriffs, period. So the chances of a sheriff being able to come and help me repel an attack, it's just not going to happen. 1. 2, because of that, I need to be able to repel an attack myself. And if they are coming at me with force, I need to be able to meet that force. It also shows, and the third thing is that it also shows how something can turn from a drill to a generator to an actual technique that can be used in a combat situation or in a life-threatening situation. And that's what we're after. So, anyway, thank you guys, and hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your time. Defend your homes wisely.